through we go. And I know I beat most of you anyway. Then the sound, and when it comes through we go. And I know I beat most of you anyway. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Well, in the spirit of the style consultant telling me I better get my act together, let's go over to the news or something. Heinz Beanz, and they're trying to make beans look special, which I guess there's some protein and stuff in them. Here it comes. Fasten your seatbelts. This is exciting beans.
With one substitution, Heinz Beanz.
But beans means the tastiest of tea times. Think outside the toast. Nice work, Mo.
Nice work. Put beans on your burger.
Inside the bun. They're
Inside
lean,
the
supreme.
bun.
Plant-based protein cuisine because beans means
Beans means more. Yeah, okay. So anyway, we're talking about Heinz. We talked about Heinz yesterday, screwing around with their logo and having some fun with it. And I'm not even on the radar with Heinz Beans. So I thought I would just plug Heinz a little bit. Let's give them a like. We have one like on this new commercial. I'll give them a like. Okay, and now let's go over to something else. Let's see. Over here to Heinz Ketchup. Okay, Heinz Ketchup is working on, let's see where I hit it here. Oops. I hit it. Okay, Heinz Ketchup celebrates main ingredients with plantable tomato seed labels. Okay, so Heinz is offering a jar of ketchup with a plantable tomato seed label. Now, the reason I was interested in this because I know a couple of months ago I talked about Heinz as being too extra. Yeah, I'll say. So there was a mailer that sent out their mailing piece, and it had seed strips in it. And I don't know if anyone planted them. I think I sent away from it, and I don't remember ever getting it. Maybe it was a limited edition. But it's the kind of thing that you can do in mail that you can't do online. Online, you can show people planting seeds. You can talk about seeds, but you can't deliver the seeds. Now, you can on package. And so here's many people still do not believe Heinz ketchup is essentially made of tomato. So anyway, it's a limited edition bottle, and it's got seeds somehow on the label. And down in Brazil, it's going to be spring, so they can plant those. Beans means Heinz is the first slogan that was introduced in the 60s. Okay. Here's an idea for getting your employees back together again. Instead of trying to force them to get to the office, maybe you should take a field trip and put them in a city where you've got a big client or something. And so, fly them there, do it on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so they can see the city after they're done with their little business trip. Maybe include spouses or something, a little something for them to do. Staffers in this boutique agency continue to work remotely, but for 3 days a month, they get together and meet in person in a different city around the U.S. So if you're allowing remote work, and it seems to be something that's pretty common, I really wanted to cover this because every year at the NMOA, which NMOA decided again yesterday, or announced yesterday, that they won't be having a conference in March in Boston, as usual. This is their third canceled Boston conference. Hopefully they'll get it together by Schaumburg, and if they don't want to do Illinois, maybe they should come to Wisconsin where they belong in the first place. I maybe should reach out to them and say we should do something with WDMA because they just, as far as I am concerned, have disappeared off the map. And I think we're passing them up. WDMA, give me a like for that one if you think that we're doing a great job compared to the other associations of the world. Anyway, so but every year or every time I go to NMOA, they let me go to a CEO breakfast. And one of the main concerns CEOs have is acquiring talent, but also oftentimes catalog companies are in remote locations. Like Land's End is in Dodgeville. What else is in Dodgeville? That's about it. And that's okay because, it's centrally located. You can ship from there. It's not a bad place to, and nice people live out in southwest Wisconsin. It's a great place. But there's not much else going on there. So if you wanted to attract, say, the #1 catalog consultant in the world, but I could drive there. But if you wanted to attract me, you said, well, you don't have to come to Dodgeville, but we'll take you to New York 1 month, and then we'll take you to Florida another month, and Hawaii another month, and and you can work remote from where you are. I'd go for that. I think that would be really fun. So that's an idea for you catalog companies that are out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, and finally, a really interesting article by Amanda Haar, and she evaluates the pros and cons of direct mail. And apparently she works with big banks as a copywriter or something, so she knows what's what. She's watching the results on both mail and email. She said, in the age of digital first banking, although I have to go in and sign some paperwork, I got to go over to my bank. I said, can't I do it? Can't I just tell you over the phone? It's some dormant account. And no, you have to come in and sign the paper. Okay, come in and sign the paper. Okay, digital first banking. Anyway, direct mail has made a surprising resurgence. Not to those of us who use it. We've kept along the whole time. But anyway, I've never really gone for financial institutions. I've done, I worked with GM Credit Card. I worked with Hudson Bay Credit Card. I worked with, I'm sure, a few others. But I just never, they never tracked very well. They never paid any attention to what was really working. They didn't worry about attribution with any kind of sense. We worked with E-Trade when they were really booming, and I said, well, do you segment your lead generation? We were just doing the database, but I was talking with the prospecting guys, and they said, no, we're not. We just mail everybody. And I said, well, you could probably get a better return on investment. They said, well, that's not our job. We don't have to worry about return on investment. We just have to worry about generating lots of leads. So the point that Amanda makes is that there are higher conversion rates, larger sales pipeline, and a deeper personal connection with mail. And I think all of that's true. And she cites some industry averages, but then she says that the bank response rates were more like 1%, which is probably more like what I would have guessed. And I've been a notoriously good guesser. But even at 1%, if you mail 120,000 people, you're going to get 1,200 leads, or and change. And she said, I think this is from her experience, that 75% of those applied and 50% converted. Which gives you around a 0.6 loan funded loans, right? Just around that, right? Almost right around 0.5%. So if you, I get it, 75% of this and then 50% of that. Okay, so it's a little less than 0.5%. But I've run companies on 0.5% sustainably. You can do it. It depends on your margin. It depends on, what your average order size is. And with loans, it's usually, tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know what that translates into margin, but I'm sure it's a couple of grand. Consumers, some Americans prefer direct mail to email. The average person receives 120 emails a day. Wow, I wonder when I did that, when I passed that threshold. I'm at about 600 some days. And that's okay. I ignore most of it. I click on some, which doesn't mean I really opened them. I'm just trying to get rid of them as far as unopened. Some people say there's a deeper emotional connection to checking the mail. Of course, you can eliminate this if you use informed delivery. That lets you see what's coming in your mailbox so that you don't have to miss anything important and you don't have to check it. You don't have to go to the mailbox because they've already warned you digitally, which seems to be counterproductive to the post office's interest, but you can't tell them. Okay, email marketing, Amanda says, delivers a better ROI than direct mail. I think it depends, and I was talking with Mike from RRD, Donley, and at our meetup, and he said, we go in and we talk to people and we say, look, what are you paying per click? And it's, let's say, $1.50, $2, or maybe $3. You got a 50% bounce, and another half of that might be robots. So you're paying $5 a click, even at $2. You're probably paying at least that, $5 per click. And, and then he holds up a mailing piece and he says, you could do this for $1. And there's 100% engagement. It's not fake. And they go, really? Yeah, you can. So when you say direct mail can be expensive, it depends on what you're after, right? And even at almost nothing, when you have a 0.1% response rate, and that's again, is that an engaged response or is that an open rate? And you got to be careful with that, because she might be talking about open rate. What are we talking about? Orders? I doubt if it's that high. Anyway, again, if you're going to be consistent and if you're going to talk costs, you want to be consistent not only about the costs, because people are really happy to say direct mail is expensive, but you have to be really careful about the conversion all the way to the end. And a lot of times with email especially, you're sending them to a website, right? So you often lose attribution unless you do it very carefully. Okay, direct marketing doesn't always yield immediate results. Oh, here it was. The average ROI for email is $28.50 compared to $7 for direct mail. Now, I don't know where that comes from. It probably comes from the DMA or someplace. I don't believe in averages. As she just pointed out, the average for direct mail is 4 times what her experience is in financial email. So you got to test these things. And I know that Mike Gunderson is getting a lot of calls from financial mailers who are financial marketers who are digital only, who are saying that, it's not scaling anymore. The more you spend doesn't translate into the more results. So it depends a little bit on are you emailing existing checking account holders? That may get you a high response rate, but can you scale that? Probably not. So, it's really hard to get apples to apples. And it's really important in these kind of articles that you try to, but you can't give away the store and you can't tell all your secrets. The logistics of direct mail can be tricky, especially in these days when you might, if you're doing a big mailing. Now 120,000 is, don't consider a big mailing. You call around, you'll find a printer that has the paper and the capability. But if you have, and luckily the printers have relationships with the paper companies. Now, if you're going to do, a couple of million, you better buy your paper. You're going to probably have to buy it up front. Okay. The increased amount of rules and regulations regarding who you can send mailers to and what message you can use. Now, I'd really like to challenge Amanda on that one, because GDPR, CCPA, and the Colorado rules, I think it's just called CPA, maybe, the Colorado Consumer Protection or something. Anyway, those apply more to email than they do to mail. Even GDPR in the UK, they really basically said, the ICO said, no, mail is fine. We don't have any problem with mailing existing customers and mailing people who opted into something. We just don't want you emailing them. And so one of the workarounds in many cases for excess regulation has been to mail them instead of emailing. Pop out of email. And another issue with email, of course, is overdoing it. Because they're so low cost, you can vaccinate your customers to the email. I blocked Amazon email long ago because they just pounded me to death. I don't know if they do anymore because I don't see them. Okay. Tracking and reporting can also be difficult with direct mail. Actually, it's the easiest thing there is in the world. for two reasons. One, we mail to the house, and you're going to sign them up at the house. So it's really easy to do matchback on an address basis. Secondly, you can do holdout testing. So you take that 120,000 and you say, well, let's not mail 10,000 of them and see how they do. Maybe it's existing customers. Maybe there's all a digital campaign and an email campaign, etc. And then you get to see the real impact. Because oftentimes, without proper tracking, that email or the mail will send them to a website and be lost, just as lost as the email tracking. And a lot of times the financial companies don't care, which is why I didn't really work with them too much. And so the conclusion, a good conclusion, says you might want to try a lot of this stuff, and you might want to pay attention to both response rate and ROI. And by ROI, I don't mean sales on ad spend or all this top line stuff. I mean, what's the bottom line net? What's the EBITDA on your campaigns? And most marketers don't even know what I'm talking about. But ask your CFO to teach you, and they will, of course. So be consistent. Go across channels. I'm okay with multiple channels. Some people, especially the ones that come in digitally, aren't worth mailing. It's not worth spending $1 on them. They're just not going to convert. So send them a pile of emails and waste your money. But it's less trouble. Okay. Regular communication, regular touch points. Okay. And as always, if you subscribe at WDMA.org, you can have access to all the show notes. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know.